New Mexico 2001. The escape that exposed a flaw in America's perfect prison. The flaw beneath the floor. Hit subscribe if you want the truth prisons try to bury. The sirens began at 4:12 a.m. sharp. A long, rising mechanical scream that ripped through the silence of the Desert Sun Correctional Facility, the prison advertised nationwide as America's most escape-proof institution. For years, officials bragged that nothing could get in or out without the system noticing. But that morning, something had. When the alarm blared, Officer Jenna Hart sprinted down C-Wing, boots hammering against freshly polished tiles. Her breath fogged in the cold corridor as she shouted orders into her radio. Count check. Units on every tier, now. We have a breach in D block. The words tasted wrong in her mouth. Breach wasn't supposed to exist here. She reached the metal door to D block and swiped her badge. The biometric scanner glowed green. Nothing looked disturbed. No locks broken. No alarms forced. And yet the central tower reported that one inmate, Marcus Red, serving 30 years for armed robbery, had vanished sometime between lights out and dawn. Jenna pushed into the block. The cells stood in perfect formation, each one locked. Nothing overturned. Nothing smashed. The newest surveillance cameras blinked a steady blue, all systems online. Everything was exactly as it should be, except for cell D14. Inside, the bed was made. The toilet untouched. The stainless desk bare. Marcus's shoes sat neatly against the wall, toes aligned. But Marcus himself? Gone. Jenna stepped in slowly, her fingers brushing the icy air. Something felt off, wrong in its quiet. Then her eyes dropped to the floor. There, next to the drain under the shower head, lay a small, circular smear of rust, fresh, damp, and spreading outward like something had been dragged. Jenna crouched, running her gloved hand along the grate. A faint heat pulsed from beneath it. At 4 a.m? She frowned and radioed in, "I need maintenance to D14. Something's happening with the drain system." Before she could finish, another officer, Martin Reyes, rushed in. "Hart, you need to see the cams now." He pulled her into the security office. Screens displayed every angle of D block. Reyes scrubbed through the night's footage, the timeline rolling in glowing blue digits. At 2:31 a.m., Marcus Red was pacing his cell, rubbing his wrists and staring at the floor. He knelt beside the shower drain and pressed his palm to the grate. Then, nothing. The camera cut to static, a perfect 60-second blackout. No glitch. No corruption. A clean, intentional blackout. And when the feed resumed, the cell was empty. Marcus was gone. Jenna leaned in close. "No one touched the door?" "No one," Reyes said. "Sensors show it never opened. He didn't go through the bars. He didn't go over them. And unless he can turn into vapor, he didn't go out through the ceiling." Jenna's stomach tightened. "So where the hell did he go?" Reyes swallowed. "There's more." He tapped another screen where thermal logs pulsed like ghostly blue hearts. Between 2:30 and 2:35, the floor temperature in D14 rose 20 degrees. A beat of silence. 20 degrees. Directly over the drain. Jenna stared at the image, white-hot heat concentrated at the grate, swirling like something alive beneath the concrete. "This facility was built clean," she whispered. "No access tunnels. No crawl spaces. No old blueprints we forgot about." Reyes didn't answer. He simply zoomed into the live stream of cell D14. And the drain cover was moving. Just a millimeter. Just enough to tilt. Just enough to prove something was directly underneath it. And then, under the grainy blue of the CCTV feed, Jenna saw it. A finger pushing up from beneath the grate. And the chapter ends. Officer Jenna Hart froze as the metal grate trembled. For a split second, she thought she imagined it, until the drain cover jostled again, harder this time, as if something beneath the floor was testing its strength. "Back up to D14, she whispered into her radio. Her voice cracked despite her training. "Now." Reyes locked the door behind them, sweat forming on his brow even in the cold. Together, they stared at the shower drain. The metal vibrated, soft at first, Then with an unmistakable rhythm, like someone knocking from below. Then everything stopped. Stillness. Silence. Like the floor was holding its breath. Jenna knelt, pulling a flashlight from her belt. When she angled the beam into the narrow grid of the drain, she saw it. Deep scratch marks along the inside of the pipe, fresh ones, the edges bright and silver. Someone had been pulling themselves down, not up. Liz whispered, "Jenna? I think he went into the drain system." "That's impossible," she muttered. But the words didn't feel true. The facility was supposed to be perfect. Built in 1997. Upgraded in 2001. Every blueprint reviewed. Every shaft sealed. Every pipe too narrow for even a child to crawl through. But Marcus Red hadn't just escaped. He had disappeared downward. Before Jenna could respond, four officers burst in. She ordered them to seal the block and keep all inmates locked down. "Nothing goes in or out," she said. "Not even air." Reyes pulled up the facility schematics, fingers flying across the touchscreen. Cameras showed empty hallways, locked doors, and still cells. But something wasn't adding up. He zoomed into the oldest layer of the blueprints, the original construction documents predating the 2001 upgrade. There, faded beneath newer lines, sat a narrow, snake-like path leading under D-block. It wasn't labeled as plumbing. It wasn't marked as a vent. It was simply noted with a decades-old stamp. Maintenance shaft, access sealed. Except the access point wasn't sealed anymore. Jenna's pulse hammered. Where does that shaft go? Reyes followed the line to the far end of the prison. "Here," he said. "Under the showers and out of the facility grounds." Jenna felt the world tilt. A single forgotten maintenance tunnel, ignored for years, buried under upgrades and never rechecked, was the flaw. The one oversight. The perfect prison's first crack. "We've got movement," an officer called over the radio. "South perimeter fence. Something's triggering the ground sensors." Jenna and Reyes bounded through the halls, boots echoing under the blue emergency lights. They burst into the cold morning air, breath forming clouds in the dawn. A prison yard officer pointed at the frost-covered ground. "Tracks," he said. "Fresh." Someone crawled out from under the fence line. Jenna crouched. The grass was bent, wet with moisture. The earth disturbed in a narrow line just wide enough for a human torso. She followed it with her flashlight until it ended at a storm drainage ditch. A smear of rust. A drop of blood. And a boot print in the mud. Marcus Red's boot. Reyes exhaled shakily. He did it. He really went through the floor. Jenna stared at the line of debris leading into the dark woods beyond the fence. The early sun barely touched the treetops, but she swore she saw movement, just a shadow, slipping deeper into the forest. "We need dogs," she said. "Drones. Every unit we have." Reyes nodded but didn't move. His eyes fixed on something half buried in the mud. A metal tag. Rectangular. Rusted. He picked it up. Scratched into the surface were 3 numbers. 1997, the year the prison opened. "It fell off something," he said. But Jenna knew better. It didn't fall off something. It was left behind. Marcus Red wanted them to know exactly where the flaw began. And exactly how he exploited it. Jenna Hart had chased dozens of fugitives in her 9 years as an officer, but nothing unnerved her like the trail Marcus Red left behind. It wasn't just the escape. It was the message woven into every step he took, as if he wanted to expose the prison's single weakness to the world. A weakness nobody was ever supposed to find. By the time the search teams gathered at the south fence, dawn was settling into a cold, pale blue. Steam rose from the ground where Marcus had crawled out. The earth was disturbed, the frost cracked in a clear path leading into the trees. But there was something else. Something Jenna noticed only because she had stopped to breathe. Footprints. 2 sets. One belonged to Marcus. The other smaller. She knelt, brushing her fingers across the second print. "Reyes," she said quietly. "Someone else came out of that tunnel." Reyes staggered back. "No, there's no record, no missing inmate." "It's not an inmate," Jenna said. "It's someone who's been down there a longer." Before Reyes could respond, a crackle came from the radio. We've got a body, East Ridge, near the drainage ditch. Jenna and Reyes sprinted through the brush, pushing branches aside until the trees opened into a clearing. 2 officers stood beside a small, collapsed figure lying in the dew-covered grass. Marcus red, face pale, breathing shallow, eyes wide with terror, like a man who had seen something in the dark that ripped the heart straight out of him. Jenna crouched beside him. "Marcus, look at me." His lips trembled. He tried to lift a shaking hand, pointing back toward the direction of the prison. "You don't know what's down there," he whispered. "They never sealed it. They just built over it." "Built over what?" Jen asked. He swallowed hard. His eyes filled with a fear deeper than anything she'd ever seen. "I didn't escape alone." A chill ran through Jenna's body, settling at the base of her spine. "Something was already in the shaft," Marcus said. "Something that shouldn't fit." It moved without sound. It touched the walls like it knew every crack. Reyes stammered, "Marcus, are you saying you followed someone out?" "No," Marcus whispered. "It followed me." Before Jenna could question him further, the ground vibrated. A deep, rumbling tremor. The kind that rose from beneath the earth, not above it. Birds scattered through the trees. The officers glanced around nervously. Another tremor. Then another. "Back to the fence," Jenna ordered. But as they ran, Marcus grabbed her arm with surprising strength. "Seal the drain," he begged. "Don't let it out. That place under the showers. There are rooms down there. Old tunnels. They built the new prison on top of something older." "Older than what?" Reyes asked. Marcus's voice broke. "Older than the prison. Older than us." His hand went limp. His pulse vanished. Marcus Red died before paramedics arrived. The rumbling grew stronger behind them. As Jenna turned, she saw it. A large, circular sinkhole forming near the prison wall, the earth sinking inward like something was pulling it from below. The ground split open. A long crack snaked across the soil, passing directly under the fence line. Reyes whispered, "Tell me that's not the shaft collapsing." "It's not collapsing," Jenna said. "It's widening." The fence posts rattled. Dirt spilled inward. Something beneath the surface pressed upward, stretching the soil like a drum. Silence. Stillness. The rumbling stopped. The earth settled. And whatever was beneath the ground went still. Jenna stepped back, breath shallow. The dawn light flickered across the cracked dirt. Reyes whispered, "Do we tell the warden?" Jenna's voice was barely audible. "We tell everyone. Because Marcus wasn't the real problem. He just showed us the flaw." She stared at the widening fissure, feeling the air shift above it. "And whatever escaped with him," she said, "is still out there." Her radio crackled sharply. D-block drain temperature rising again. Jenna felt her chest tighten. This wasn't over. Not even close. If you think this story was intense, you're not ready for what's coming next. Hit subscribe so you don't miss it.